In this episode, a dare goes horribly wrong. A group of 9-year-old children climb into the crocodile enclosure of a holiday resort, gripping a wooden stick and daring each other to whack the crocodiles on the head. One of the crocodiles has had enough, and it fights back with devastating consequences. Hit that like button and subscribe right now. This is the terrifying crocodile attack on Liu Haiyang. Welcome to Final Affliction. In Bahai City in South China's Guangxi-Zhuangzi Autonomous Region lies a holiday resort called Yintan, or Silver Beach. But this wasn't just any holiday resort. Silver Beach provided deadly entertainment. Typically regarded as the greatest beach in China, the beach is covered in the finest quartz sand that glints and shimmers in the golden sun. It draws people from all over the country and is popular with its water sports and swimming facilities. Beside the beach is the holiday resort, which is full of entertainment for all the family. One form of entertainment were the crocodile shows. Inside a small enclosure, 11 crocodiles feasted on chunks of dead meat thrown into the water or held high in the air for them to leap up to, sometimes jumping 5 feet into the air. Visitors were impressed by their athleticism and power. But the crocodile pool served another purpose for the local children. It had become a bit of a ritual for children from the surrounding primary schools to sneak into the crocodile enclosure and dare each other to get as close as possible to the enormous reptiles. Only those who were brave enough would climb the low-lying wall and drop down into the lair. Armed with wooden sticks, the youngsters would run up to the nearest crocodile and whack it on the head before running back out of the enclosure. It was a cruel form of entertainment, but one which gained the children respect amongst their peers. On April 20th, 2007, a 9-year-old boy called Liu Haiyang was up to mischief. At around 6 p.m. that evening, he and 3 of his friends from CNTN Primary School walked towards the holiday resort. They were each up for the crocodile challenge and walked to the enclosure armed with wooden sticks, slingshots, and handfuls of rocks and pebbles. The resort was quiet. There was nobody about as it was closed for the evening, but the gates weren't locked shut. It was easy to get into, and there was no security. The children walked quickly across the grounds, keeping as quiet as possible. The wall surrounding the crocodile pool was only a meter high, and in some places as low as 55 centimeters, or 22 inches. It was by no means a secure enclosure either for keeping people out or the crocodiles in. In fact, there had been an incident a few years before which very much proved this point. Some of the crocodiles had managed to wriggle down a water drainage pipe that led from their enclosure out to the pristine sands of Silver Beach. Pandemonium had broken out as sunbathers and swimmers were suddenly exposed to several large crocodiles emerging onto the beach. Luckily, nobody was hurt during the mass escape, and the crocodiles were captured and returned to their enclosure, every one of them accounted for. That evening, as Liu climbed the concrete wall, he and his friends ignored the warning signs erected around the enclosure. They very clearly stated the dangers of crocodiles and warned anyone not to climb the wall. But that wasn't going to stop a group of excited 9-year-olds. They dropped down from the wall onto the ground. The crocodiles eyed them suspiciously. Some turned their heads as they basked on the sides of the pool. The children began loading up their slingshots and aiming them at the captive reptiles, pulling back firmly on the elastic and then releasing it. The rocks flew through the air and pummeled the crocodiles. Some flinched, others hissed and slid into the water. Then the real challenge began. One of the children ran up to a crocodile next to the water and, wielding a stick above his head, brought it crashing down on top of the crocodile. He immediately ran back to his friends, squealing with excitement. Now it was Liu's turn. He grabbed the stick and walked up to the same crocodile. This time the reptile had had enough. It had been battered and bruised, and this wasn't the first time children had disrespected the wildlife and treated them terribly. As Liu brought his stick down on top of the crocodile's head. It suddenly lunged forwards. It snapped its jaws, and in an instant, Liu was dragged by his shirt into the water. He screamed in terror and reached out for his friends, who rushed to the pool. One of them tried to grab Liu's outstretched arm, but the young boy was wrenched out of reach at the last second. He was pulled under the water in the shallow pool. Then, as the crocodile readjusted its grip and crunched down on the boy's torso, his friends could see Liu's eyes bulging when he momentarily resurfaced. They could see the terrified look in his eyes. He tried to scream, but no sound came out of his mouth. His friends tried once more to reach out and grab him, but it was too late. The other 10 crocodiles, excited by the commotion and smell of fresh blood, all slid into the water and began tearing at the boy. Liu's friends could only watch in horror as he was torn to shreds by the animals. A cloud of dark red dispersed across the murky water, and the children leapt out of the enclosure and ran for help. Their cries had been overheard by the Crocodile Keeper. Liu Haiyang had been hired by the park's owner since the animals had escaped onto the beach. The owner knew he had to make some serious changes to the operations of the park, particularly the management of the crocodiles, and so handed that responsibility to a full-time member of staff. But crocodiles are on the state endangered animal list, and to keep crocodiles of breeding age, owners need to seek permission and permits from forestry and marine departments. Seeing as the park had none of the licenses required for keeping the animals, it was in fact an illegal crocodile pool. But where was the Crocodile Keeper when Liu was being attacked? Because the pool was closed at the time of the incident, the Crocodile Keeper, Liu Haiyang, was inside cooking a meal and didn't notice the children sneaking into the enclosure. When he heard the screams of terror radiating across the park, he rushed out to the crocodile exhibit. What greeted him was a scene of pure horror. He could see the commotion inside the crocodile pool. The water was splashing and swirling as the crocodiles feasted. The boy's body was tugged at and pulled in opposite directions as he floated, semi-submerged in the brown water. When police arrived on the scene, they called in special armed units. Snipers then lured the crocodiles out of the water with raw pork. Smelling the fresh meat, the prehistoric giants emerged from the pool dripping wet, their eyes fixated on the chunks of pork in front of them. They crawled over dry land and began eating it. Now that they were clearly exposed, the snipers then took aim at the crocodile thought to be responsible for Liu's death. They fired 7 bullets into its thick, armored body. It was a huge animal, 2 meters, 6.5 feet in length, and weighing 150 kilograms, or 330 pounds. They dragged the crocodile out of the enclosure and onto a trailer where it could be dissected. When they split open its stomach, the boy's remains were found inside. Although the other crocodiles had taken advantage of the attack, this one was the main culprit and had consumed most of the boy. Following the incident, the pool was drained of all its water, and the remaining 10 crocodiles were removed and relocated to somewhere that had the necessary permits and facilities to accommodate such dangerous animals. This was at the Zhuangxi Endangered Wild Animal Protection Center, a zoo in the regional capital, Nanning. As to be expected, the 3 children who witnessed their friend being torn to shreds were traumatized by the incident. They were incoherent when police questioned them about the attack, in a state of shock. They woke in the night screaming in fear as nightmares gripped them in their sleep. In a statement to media, Lu Wei, a doctor with Bahai People's Hospital, said that the children were receiving ongoing psychological treatment. He urged staff and pupils at the school not to speak about the attack in front of them whilst they were trying to come to terms with the shock of the tragedy. Courts ruled the Crocodile Keeper and the entertainment park were responsible for the boy's death and ordered compensation to the boy's family. Liu Haiyang's parents were compensated 220,000 yuan, the equivalent of $30,600, but no amount of money would bring back their beloved son. A dare that was meant to be a bit of fun and had been performed countless times before by pupils from many of the primary schools in the area had ended in Liu Haiyang's terrifying final affliction.